Actually, I was wondering, since we're just talking about police, did you want to touch on this local story first about
Oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna read from it, and then me and Lawrence will do a little bit of discussion. But there was a video incident. That is, if you've been on Kalamazoo social media, you may have seen it. And it's basically a video of a young black woman, well, teenager, getting really kind of pinned down to the ground by about three officers. Um, and I'm going to read a little bit from this article in MLive. It was published yesterday, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it. But it's written by Brad Devereaux. A teenager held down by multiple police officers before she was arrested in Kalamazoo told MLive she feels harassed, complaining about how police held her down and arrested her during a traffic stop. Police said they acted in the interest of public safety after the teen did not obey commands. And I've got some commentary to that, but let me fill in the context a little bit. The incident was discussed at the Tuesday, May 11th, Kalamazoo Citizen Public Safety Review and Appeals Board meeting. Police showed body cameras footage from the incident at the meeting. Uh, Tayana, who was 17, said in an interview with MLive that she got into the passenger seat of a car in Kalamazoo on Sunday, May 2nd, and moments later, KPS officers pulled the vehicle over. As officers obtained a shoe from a male in the back seat as part of the investigation, the teens heard them talking about a car crash, Townsend said in the interview on Monday, May 11th. The two teens in the front of the car said they didn't have anything to do with the crash, Townsend said. Soon, officers began grabbing her and her friend in the driver's seat to take them out of the car. Teen was accompanied by her mother during the phone interview with MLive. I feel harassed, Townsend said. Police officers have stopped her in the past without a good reason, she said. They need to do their job better because they had said something with a car accident. We had nothing to do with the car accident, Townsend said. While she was not a suspect in the hit and run, police said the male in the back seat was arrested as the alleged driver in the earlier crash. Police got a call that a man matching the description of the suspect driver got into the back seat of a car in the area of West Patterson Street and Staples Avenue, Assistant Chief Victor Green said Tuesday. Police pulled the car over and directed. Well, okay, I'm going to go on a little bit here, but Townsend, who just turned 17 a few days after the incident, is facing charges of resisting and obstructing related to the incident. And so you can go on, but I would encourage the video, which it's not particularly easy to watch, but yeah, she's basically getting pinned to the ground by like three different officers. Um, and they basically go on to say that you know what I'm sorry, this is what Luann Williams said, and that's the teen's sister. They said, she could have gotten hurt. Not only that, they're putting serious charges of something that was wrong. And then further out, City Commissioner Eric Cunningham actually did follow up, posted a social media last week, and Chief Vernon Coakley is going to be putting out a public statement about the video. The officers basically said that they were within their rights and that they were acting along a continuum of force uh, guidelines, like basically saying that uh, they struck the teenager struck one of the officers, and that was justification for them getting pinned down. Um, Now, a couple of stray observations, and then let Lawrence talk. You speak to this certainly. Um, so one thing I wanted to comment on. So they had suspicions somebody in that car was involved in a car accident. Okay, why do you need to pull people out of a vehicle because of that? And the whole obstruction thing is because they refused to get to exit the vehicle, which they're within their rights to do. It is a very uniquely American thing that whenever a cop stops you, you are now challenged to a life or death game of Simon Says. But in that particular circumstance, you're not being charged with anything, and you are within your rights to ask questions. And also I want to follow up that too, even talking about the continuum use of force. In the situation where you have somebody who's ostensibly more or less like, if all the facts line up and like there's a suspect in a car, it's very much likely that everybody else in that car is more or less like, they may not be involved in it. They, follow the standard of bystander. There are other ways to deal with that situation than the kind of force that you saw in the video. And even, I believe there's even somebody who commented on that from Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety. I can even speak from my own line of work. I do healthcare for folks, and I've been trained how to deal with violent individuals non-violently, and it is kind of ridiculous that police can say it's like, well, one of us got like kicked in the shin or whatever, so we in response to that, three of us pinned a child, a minor 17-year-old, to the ground. I mean, there's deeper issues that go into it, and like the whole trying to kind of navigate the minutia of like who did what, who did right, trying to justify this around whether there was an individual in the car who fled from a car accident, and trying to justify it as like a justified use of force in response to assault. I am here. I just want to remind everybody that there are other working professionals, such as myself, that get held to a higher standard than that when we have to deal with individuals in the community. And I think it's really patently ridiculous that police are not held to that same standard. Lawrence, do you have a response to this story?
I mean, this sounds eerily. This sounds like, this is America. This is policing America. This is the reason why people talk about why we need the police to have not just better training when it comes to how to deal with individuals, but how, when they use excessive force like this when it wasn't necessary, that they should be held accountable. Come on now, you're telling me that you're telling me that, even, let's grant, I don't believe the cop story for a second, but let's grant the benefit of a doubt, right? There was a suspect that was in a hit and run that was in this vehicle, right? Did
Mm-hmm.
they have that person identified? Did they identify that person? If they failed to identify that person, so they had to get everyone out of the car. Okay. So when the other people are innocent and they're upset that you're dragging them out the car, you should expect that, right? But expecting that, you're inconveniencing innocent people, you choose to throw them to the ground and arrest them for resisting arrest, even though they didn't do anything wrong except be reasonably upset. Is that the logical conclusion that we're having from this conversation, to justify brutalizing a teenager? Am I missing something?
I mean, no, like, well, even if we, face value, like, like, oh, well, they kicked an officer or whatnot. I mean, as I just mentioned, there are different standards that I personally think cops should have to follow, but you also consider like this is somebody who literally just turned 17, was a teenager. They're like, there's a lot of legal standing in the state of Michigan and elsewhere in the country that, you have to handle those situations differently than you would an adult. Not only for like, psychological, physiological reasons, the adolescent development and stuff, but also just for the purpose of like protecting people who are underage, people who are still legally children. And
My thing is this. I'm sorry to interrupt.
mhm.
Even if when the officer got kicked, did the officer did the officer get a broken bone? Did the girl roundhouse kick the officer like Chuck Norris? Like like did she pull off a Melina disappearing and then reappearing, jumping on the dude's roundhouse kick to the face like in Mortal Kombat? Like did anything like was there any type of force that was used to justify three men jumping on this child? Like I if the answer is no, then that means yes, you could be like, look, hey, look, you just assaulted the officer, you could go to jail. I need you to calm that down. You can be reasonable. You know what I'm saying? If my little cousin was to kick me and she's 13, I'm not gonna jump on top of her and just beat her face in. Like that's not how this works. Like reasonable force is something that police officers are supposed to be should be able to judge and understand. When you can't judge or understand that, then it sounds like you might need to do a different job.
Yeah,
And this
and
is not the only story that's like that. Wasn't there a story out of Grand Rapids? I think I think it was a day or 2 days ago where the police, I think it was no, it was actually like it was a week ago where the police arrested the wrong man, and it took like three or four officers, and they brutally arrested the wrong man and charged him with assault when he was picking up his wife from a wake.
I remember, another thing that comes to mind, we reported on this about a year ago. There's some incidents that led to a lot of community outrage of public safety officers basically manhandling teenagers, Kalamazoo public school students down at the bus depot. So there's a history, particularly like let's not ignore the fact that like this traffic stop happened on the north side, and we there is a long history of like cops acting a little bit differently when you're talking about like black and brown teenagers. I mean, anybody in this group grown up in this neighborhood, I mean, y'all know, like, I mean, white kids have been wilding out too. They often don't get stopped by cops. I don't know. In some of my experience, like the Portage kids were like, whoa. Uh, maybe that's the whole thing. Is like you can ask the cop for directions when you're wiling out.
When you're
I don't know. Um,
right.
yeah, but yeah, that is a legit thing to point out. Is that yeah, this is happening again towards black and brown teenagers, and again in a in a part of town that is predominantly black, predominantly working class. That's
I mean, think about this. We talked about a story I think a couple years ago where you had a white dude that was nude who just killed three people. He had a machete in his hand and he was chasing police officers. He was attacking police officers with a machete, and they did not brutalize him or kill him. Dylan Roof shot nine people, and they gave him Burger King. Um, the dude that just got done killing all the Asian people in the mass shooting in Atlanta, right? Taken in, didn't brutalize them, nothing. These kids allegedly one of the children in this car allegedly was a part of a car accident, hit and run, and they have to be subdued with force. Perspective.
yeah. I feel that, and it's like yeah, again, like you just really kind of driving the point home that like there are many different ways the situation could have been handled, and you know it is worth a lot of criticism and a lot of introspection about why that situation was handled the way that it was. Do you have anything else on this story, Lawrence, before we move on to the
Nah,
next one?
bro. Nah, bro. I'm good.